Are you looking to become a pilot? I'm going to admit something. I'm not an airline pilot. No, I have completed any of the licenses. However, I've used the regulation itself. Now, recently, I've been researching on how to become a pilot in Europe. And there's this governing body that implements regulation for whole of Europe. What we call member states, they're individual countries that abide by this big boss, EASA. So I have taken the EASA regulation and I've put step-by-step process on what are the requirements for each stage and what are the licenses. Let's break it down. Now, if you're watching this video with zero knowledge on how to become a pilot, your first place is your SPL. What does this stand for? Student Pilot's License. Now, student pilot license, where do you get it? First, you need to get into an ATO. What is an ATO? An approved training organization. You go to a flying school, that's basically what an ATO is. You go to a flying school and say, look, I need to register. They will give you a registration form. You'll have to fill in your age and all those information. You might have to pay a registration fee and you will have to get a medical. Now, we call this EASA Class 2 medical, where they will check for your eyesight. Basically what they're checking is whether you are healthy enough to become a pilot. Let's just say now you have completed your registration, it is your first day at school. Now, in order to apply for your SPL, your ATO will help you, or the flying school will help you to apply to the competent authority. For example, in Italy you got ENAC, in Malta you got Transport Malta, and in the UK, though it is not part of EASA anymore, they have Civil Aviation UK. You get the gist. So you submit an application to your competent authority via your flying school or approved ATO. It's a license that allows you to fly under supervision. Okay, you will be able to fly solo, but once your instructor approves you to do so. There is something called instructor's endorsement, which means he believes that you can fly alone, because there are some amount of flying hours you need to build in order to get your next stage, which is PPL, private pilot license. So you need to fly with your SPL. Now you should be minimum of 16 years of age. This is where you would also do ground school, but I'm not gonna touch on ground school here. I'll shift that to the PPL because that is a requirement for you to get your PPL. Now, PPL, private pilot license. Why do you need a PPL? PPL is for your private use. Like, you need a private pilot license to rent an aircraft and fly somewhere. Now, let's just say you are in Italy, Rome, enjoying a nice cappuccino, and you want to get a pain au chocolat from France. You could rent an aircraft, fly there, get that pain au chocolat or whatever you want, and fly back. It is for your personal use. However, you can't get money from someone else to fly with you. That is another category of license which we'll be discussing later. Now here we got ground school and practical. Now ground school is where you study in a classroom. You will study these modules in your ground school. Basically, you study them and you face an exam, and then you have to get 75 or above. So I'm not going to delve deep into these modules because I think they are pretty self-explanatory. However, if you have any confusion, drop a comment with the module and I'll get you some more information on that. So in order to become a private pilot, you need to have those 9 modules which I said ground school, and also you need around 45 flying hours under your belt. So within this 45, 25 hours should be dual flying, which is you flying with an instructor, and 10 hours should be solo flying. You are all alone in the cockpit, and there should be 5 hours of cross-country solo. What is cross-country solo? Cross-country solo is at least 150 kilometers or 80 nautical miles with full stop landings at 2 aerodromes. Basically, you are flying a distance of 150 kilometers apart and landing at 2 aerodromes. Now, your age should be at least 17 years old when you have your private pilot license. And then what privileges does it get you? Now, it will put you as pilot in command for that aircraft. Now, once you complete all these things, you can apply for your private pilot license, and still you can use the help of your school to make an application to the competent authority, and they will come assess you and they will give you the private pilot license. Hurrah! Now you can just fly whenever you want. obviously it's going to cost you money for fuel and stuff. However, you have a private pilot, you can fly alone or bring a friend alone, but you can't charge people money for services. Now if you really want to charge people money for flying them from point A to B, that's when you need your CPL, commercial pilot license. Let's move on. Now you have 45 hours and you have completed your PPL and you are excited to become an airline pilot. Now being an airline pilot, you transport people from point A to B. Now you need to charge money for that. The airline charge money for that, and then you are doing the flying. So now you would need a commercial pilot license. Let's see what are the requirements. Let's tick off age. You should be at least 18 years of age to get this CPL. Now during this CPL, you will gain around 100 to 150 flying hours. Let's break that down. Now you need 20 hours of cross-country solo. This includes 300 nautical mile flight as well. 10 hours of instrument training, 5 hours of night flying. And don't forget, you also have ground school here. You got 13 modules to study and pass, and you need 75 and above. Now you can see those modules. Again, if you have any questions about these modules, feel free to drop a comment. Now from here, a class 2 medical is obsolete. Now you need a class 1 medical, which is I think a tier higher than that. So you need to get your class 1 medical, and then if you pass the medical, then you can have your CPL. So what are the requirements? You need to be at least 18 years old, you got 13 modules to complete, and then you got 100 to 150 flying hours, all those cross-country solo, including one with 300 nautical miles. Tara, you apply through your ATO or your flying school, and there'll be an assessor and provide you with a commercial pilot license. So what privileges does the commercial pilot license gives you? Now it lets you to act as the pilot in command in transport aircraft. Now they also mention on single pilot aircraft. I might need some explanation from that. Now if you are a pilot watching this video, please help us understand what does on a single pilot aircraft means. From the terminology, what I understand is you can only fly the aircraft that a single pilot can fly. Now remember, I did mention about instrument training on your CPL and night training. I'm going to explain those things with another type of rating. Now there's something called instrument training or rating. Now instruments are displays in the cockpit or dials in the cockpit. Whenever you get into your next Ryanair flight, just peek through the cockpit doors and you'll see. So those ones are called instruments. Okay, those are the things pilots used to fly. Now instrument rating is pilot gets the ability to fly an aircraft by just using the instruments, not visually looking from the windshield. Okay, now they have to be trained. What are the times that the pilot might need to land or take off by using instruments? And that will be adverse weather condition. If it is raining heavily, a pilot can't see their runway, now they'll have to use the instrument. So this allows you to fly under instrument flight rules. This is necessary for commercial airline operations. Now what are the requirements? You need 50 hours of piloting command cross country, 40 hours of instrument instruction, and pass the instrument rating skill test. I reckon they will check your ability to land, take off, fly by just using instruments. Okay, the next one is ME or multi-engine rating. Now what is multi-engine rating? The name suggests multi-engine and more than one engine. So during your CPL or sometimes during your PPL, you will fly single engine aircrafts. Okay, now in order to fly an A320 or 747 or A380, now that is more than one engine. Now you need multi-engine rating. Now typically you need 6 to 10 hours of experience on multi-engine rating, and now these ratings can be added to your license. Now next one is night rating. This is for you to fly, or an endorsement for you to fly after sunset. Okay, now during night it's not like daytime. It's typically hard to see. You will see a lot of lights on a land. Now you wouldn't know which one's the airport, which one is a building, or which one's the highway or freeway. So now you need a night training. You need to train to fly at night, and this requires 5 hours of night flying and 5 takeoffs and landings solo. And so now you have PPL, CPL. If you see inside bracket AOH, that means aeroplane or helicopter. PPLA, PPL for aeroplane. PPLH, H is for helicopter. Alright, so now you have PPL, your CPL, and you got the instrument landing where you don't have to see the windshield. You can just use the instruments in front of you to fly an aircraft. And then you have your night rating, which allows you to fly after sunset, and you have MER or multi-engine rating where you can fly more aircraft fitted with more than one engine. Got it? The next one is the most interesting part, which is the ATPL, Airline Transport Pilot License. Now this is the highest level of license that a pilot can take. Okay, now you need this to become a captain in an airline of multi-crewed aircrafts. Okay, multi-crewed aircraft means there's more than one pilot. When it comes to theory, you're not yet done with theory. You got 14 more modules to complete. You study them and then you sit for an exam, 75 and above. Now ATPL is a bit tricky. You do your ground training, which means you study for 14 modules and you pass those modules, and that's it. You have a skill test to pass, and after that it remains frozen. What do I mean by frozen? I mean, that's it. Like, you need 1500 hours to unfreeze it. Okay, that means you have to complete your ground school in ATPL, and now you can join an airline. And once you join an airline, you need 1500 hours in different categories to activate this or unfreeze this. That means you're ready to become a captain. Now it depends on which airline you go. Some airlines, they promote you to become a captain by flying hours, some airlines by landings, but ATPL is your requirement that you need to have to become a captain. So by right, you could become a pilot by CPL, okay, and complete your ATPL while you are doing your flight training. But if you complete your ground school ATPL, that means you are ready. You just need 1500 hours to activate this ATPL or unfreeze the ATPL. So now with PPL and CPL, you will have around 245 flying hours. Now with this qualification, you can join as a cadet pilot. Now the requirement to become a cadet pilot, as I saw in different advertisements, is around 150 to 200 flying hours. Now you have completed that by your CPL. Okay, however, let's just say you become unlucky and you couldn't find a job straight after. You can still become an instructor pilot and build hours like that. Now if you need a video on how to become an instructor pilot, drop a comment saying instructor and I'll get that video. I hope this video was helpful. If you really think this video was helpful, subscribe to my channel. It will mean a lot to me. It will help me do more videos like this. This is my second channel. I have one dedicated for my Sri Lankan colleagues, and this is for everyone else. Thank you very much. I'll see you next week. Keep fixing.